Luke here from Into Carry. Today, I'm gonna give it a bit of a crack to make a bag that looks and functions something like this, but is using the mini messenger assembly method. So you've got this really simple way to bring together materials. You've got a pocket on the front here. That's a little Velcro section there, and then another little sleeve at the back like that. So the plan is to have a sleeve at the back, be the laptop sleeve, and then all your knickknacks and stuff can go in this front section. But I want to jazz it up a little bit. I really, as much as I didn't like the turbo-ness and the chaos of this design, I've been wearing it for a week or so, and yeah, I freaking love it actually. Once it's been kind of worn in a little bit, the bag kind of takes its natural shape a little bit better. I didn't like how kind of square this corner was, but that's sort of softened as it's taken, been carrying my shit around for a week. And also, it's just sick having such a big bag. I usually try and keep things as tight and tidy as possible, but just being able to like chuck all your stuff in there, love it. So to pull a little bit of a cooking show job, here is one I've prepared earlier. This is a pattern that uses the exact same assembly method as our mini messenger, but we're just making it less mini. Just going to make it a messenger. So this is going to be our body. That's big enough to fit the laptop sleeve in. So the laptop sleeve will sit in here. I haven't actually made this before, so fingers crossed it actually works. But this is basically going to fold up like that, and these will tuck in. The flat profile of this, the biggest difference is the flat base of this is square, so these are all right angles in here. Whereas when you have a larger bag, that can look a little bit kind of boxy, like you're just carrying around a crate or something. So you can see this angle tapers in like that. So I'm hoping that will kind of soften it a little bit. It'll be a smaller width on the front here. And one of the things I love about this design is even though it's a box, you get these really nice tapers. So hopefully, first of all, that will actually work and I've patterned it correctly, but hopefully it will also look sick and work well. But to make it a little bit more fun, as much as this matrix looking banner is pretty spicy, we might make that into a bag another day. I have some fun materials. Just picked this up from a local fabric maker who I'm not sure if they want me talking about it, but I will check and let you know. It's really good quality stuff, but just the nature of samples and things like this, they just unfortunately get thrown out. So this really nice texture, it's like almost like a thin carpet. So it's sort of been used for couches or something like that. And so that is going to be the whole bag. So as you can tell, this is like quite boxy. We've got some sharp lines. I'm worried that being bigger will be back into crate territory. So I'm trying to soften the whole design. And I'm hoping that this really soft textural outer will just give it a bit of a softer approach, and it'll look less like we're carrying a milk crate on our back. So that's going to be there, something like this. If you're ever working with upholstery fabric, often the back of it is sticky. Actually, no idea why they do that. I'm sure there's a functional reason for it in their assembly process, but you really want to avoid having this sticky side facing out. So if you're doing like right sides together, it's a bit of a pain in the ass because your wrong side is going to have lots of friction on either the bed of the machine or the foot. You can put tape over it. There's a bunch of like little YouTube hacks and things that you can look into if you do have to do that. But I'm going to try and just avoid it because, you know, CVF. So next, for this design to work, we need some structure and some rigidity. We need that at this size, so we're definitely going to need it at the larger size. I've got some banner here. If you're doing it at home, you could interface over some denim jeans or any kind of textile just to give it a little bit more stiffness. But also we have a full kind of cheat sheet on how to source super fun, accessible and practical waste materials. I think there's like 18 pages, so there's probably like, 36 different materials. We just detailed like what they're good for, where you can get them, and some tips on how we've at least had success with it. It's always different in different local communities and cultures and things. Everything operate a bit differently, so we can only talk from our experience. But banners are pretty accessible. Billboards and stuff is obviously everywhere, but mesh banners in particular, which we talk about a lot, are basically the same thing, but they're just perforated. So there's little holes in there. That's so the wind can go through the banner, but it means that we can bang them through a domestic sewing machine or dramas, and it's also going to like fold and behave a little bit more like a textile rather than this, which is going to behave a little bit more like a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard. Like once it folds, it tends to keep folding back in that same spot rather than just moving around and being a little bit more malleable. This snazzy, super sexy gradient, lots of different fun colors. We've got a little bit of type in there, which we might try and highlight. This is going to be essentially the lining of the piece, but rather than having the color visible on the outside, the color is going to be visible here. So it will face internally. So we'll open it up and it'll be like this big, crazy pink explosion with a bit of luck. And finally, just to make this outer a little bit more exciting, and also so that it kind of ties the so that it ties the inside of the bag being like bright and bold together with the outside. I'm going to do some simple applique, which I'm thinking will be like a flowy kind of design that'll sort of come down. So you can see the profile of this bag. It's kind of like an upside down triangle. So I want to kind of mimic that shape to accentuate it a little bit more. Exactly how we go with that, I'm not sure. And again, I'm going to do some like really soft kind of lines to try and offset the boxiness of the pattern. Probably, yeah, it'd probably just be on this panel and this panel. So we'll leave the side plain. Don't think we need to do too much or go too overboard, but it will definitely be symmetrical unless things change. So working with that. And this is what we're going to do it with. It's probably the most turbo orange I've ever seen a piece of denim be. And it's not exactly the same color, but it's pretty freaking close to this banner. So they're going to go together quite well. It's almost the same colors. It's got to be the same in one of those gradients. So this is going to lay over here. So basically this is our color scheme. All right, let's get cutting. So this is the back of the upholstery. I'm just going to cut out the 2 pieces of banner. I want to waste the fabric, but could be cool to have it kind of on different angles. Maybe that one can be straight. Take the natural. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yep. Grab your finest Sharpie. So as I've been doing these videos, I've been thinking a lot about where we're kind of at with sewing and just craft more generally. And it's a funny one because sewing itself, so many people that come in and do our courses are familiar with it. You know, they know how it works. They just don't know how to do it. Like they watched grandma or grandpa or mum or dad or someone hunched over the sewing machine. That was just part of household life. And now this skill is kind of skipped a generation. But I think that one of the benefits of social media, in my unbiased opinion, is kind of got reconnected to the process with the ability for craftspeople all around the world to share their work and the way that they go about their art form. It opened it up to so many more people. And I think that the interest in viewing that has gone down because people don't want to know how it works. They want to know how to do it. At least I do anyway. So that's what I hope to get out of these videos. So my working theory, and also the reason why I started making these videos, is, you know, we're not just showing like a highlight reel of how to make a bag or upcycle weird materials. We want to show a little bit more about the thinking and the process, and a lot of that in terms of upcycling versus regular sewing is not a rigid step-by-step process. You know, we can come in with like an idea and a concept like where we're at now, but probably things will change. Maybe the materials don't behave the way that I'm expecting them to, or any other number of variations that could happen through the process. And so kind of shining some light on the thinking behind that, and also just showing that when you're doing this at home, you don't have to know exactly what's going to happen. It's just all about exploring and getting comfortable in the uncertainty of being creative and moving through a process and a project, and hopefully being stoked with what comes out the other side. So would love your feedback. Going to be making more of these, and I want them to be as valuable as possible, obviously. So let us know what your thoughts on the format is, what you're curious to know more about from our process or from upcycling, and I'll make sure I include it in the next one. Sick. So there's our 2 pieces of carpet. They will look a bit nicer, I think, when there's the black trim on them, and then we'll have that pop of orange. I'm just going to whip up I'll cut out the same for the banner material, and then we can move on to the next step. So the current game plan is to try and get this top flap to be loosely similar to this. There's some lighter pinks in there that maybe don't go as well with this color. So going to nest that, which is this section here, something like that. Maybe get a bit of text in there as well. A little bit of pink. It's too much of that. Yeah, basically. So cool. One thing I'm worried about with this is lining up the base properly. So just putting in some little notches here so that we can reference those later when we're lining the 2 pieces up. There. Boom. Now that sits like this. And then the larger section is going to sit there like that. Some reds going into pink, so that'll be contrasting with the top of this panel. Maybe we do red into pink again, but that right up to the edge. Yeah. A little snazzy maybe? Let's find out. Just realized I'm doing that thing again. Don't know if you saw the last video, but I have a tendency to not test a pattern and just get excited and do a complex design before actually testing the shape. I guess that's one of the benefits of being the person that's making it and carrying it. But I don't even know if this is going to work. 1 down, 2 down. Cool, so that's our lining. This is what I was talking about. We've got like gradient. Still got some orange. Hopefully that ties in. Let's give it a go. Okay, so at the moment, this is going to be the outside. It's gonna kind of wrap up something like this. We've got our little notches here and here. So more or less, this is the hood of the piece, and that's where we're gonna bring this in. Something I really like to use symmetry for these. I really like the idea of something kind of coming from around the back here. So maybe like a focal point in the middle. Maybe we could do something interesting with the symmetry there, kind of like a butterfly wing. But then I don't love it just being like a print, like a patch. I want it to look like it's wrapping around the whole thing. And then with this coming up, we can bring that continuity up from here. So it looks like it's around the whole 360 degrees, but we don't have to put patches over the whole 360 because there's a lot of material there. Sacrifice this pattern. Where's that trusty old pen? Boom. We'll have a fixing of some kind about here too. So I've done one before that's kind of like this. So I'm going to steer away from that. That was also reverse applique. So this is a little bit more involved in terms of process. We can't get as much detail with this. So we'll probably have a contrast of bolder shapes and then maybe some smaller ones to give it a bit of contrast and depth. Now, just to have the idea, and we'll be off to the races. So about here's the top. Let's just start with that. Okay, so center line, we've got 10 centimeters around this border, which is going to be the black bias trim, and the top is kind of here. So this is more or less the front and center, but as we mentioned, we're going to have it come through from the back so that we can tie it together with the front over here. The trick is I don't want this to have to line up with the one underneath, but I want them to have continuous language. So what I mean by that is like, this is going to be something like that. I don't want these two to have to line up because that's a nightmare, but I do want them to be continuous. Let's start with some ovals. If we can get this all out of one piece as well, that would be... When doing shapes like this, we don't want them to be too sharp in the corner because we've got to sew around them. So we want something that we can execute well. Try and lift the curve of that up. It's looking a bit like alien sci-fi vibes at the moment. That can come into this line here is going to give us that continuity over the fold. My high school art teacher told me that I flatten all my curves. Haunts me to this day. Add more curve into your curve. Sick. So that is going to flip over. I don't love this here, but it's on the back, so we'll do for now. And then just something in this corner, two together. Yeah, cool. Happy with that. Now we're just going to quickly do, going to be somewhere that's going to fold over about there. This, which is going to reflect over here. So we just want something that's going to wrap around here. That's going to mimic just a big ass curve. Who knows what this is going to look like. Base, top, hood. Right, let's do it. Now I'm just going to cut most of this out, and this is going to be our stencil. This is where I re-flatten all my curves. Accuracy with a Stanley knife. Better for thumb, not for me. Oops, days. This is normally a technique I do for reverse applique, so this is actually the first time I'm doing it. An applique, so got our fingers crossed. Now, push that back up, re-cut it out, this bit off. Beep. That's taking shape. So all of these bits that I'm cutting out now are basically going to be orange over the top of our blue carpety looking material. Probably a bit more orange than I anticipated. Oh, that is satisfying. Yeah. Last little one. Didn't want this bit here to be too thick because it's going to be on the base. Probably would have made it thick like this one otherwise, but we're going to have quite a bit of material coming into the seams. These are the two corners of the bag. Something like that. All right, so got some off-cut banner material on board. This is going to be the backing for our patch. So you can repeat this patch making process for simpler things. You also don't need a piece of banner. Because this is quite big, that's all I had. You can use anything non-stretch. We ran over it in the other video, but just in case, like a bit of interfacing on some fabric, some tarpaulin, anything that's just going to stop the material from losing its shape, because we're going to be stitching it quite a lot, is going to work great. So just chuck that over here. Now I'm going to basically make a big sheet of this, and I'm going to cut it out and coat it in the orange material. So just tracing it for now. It's also, if you want to get particular about patches and shapes like this, particularly if it's quite detailed, just take note to like the bleed of the marker. So this marker is not a fine liner, so it's got a bit of thickness to it. So when I'm cutting, because the outside of this line is the true edge, so when I'm cutting, we just want to make sure we cut off all of the marker. So theoretically, there shouldn't be any marker material there. And then the edge of that, just extend it out. Boom, 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 boom. Very cool. This is where we really want to line it up. I'm going to flip this to do our reverse on the other side. And this can be a little tricky because I have a little bit of movement. That works for me. It's just repeat that process. So because we're adding quite a bit of thickness, this is why I didn't want to have this material running into that corner seam. This will run into the seam, but it'll be on the straight edge. Funny how the shapes look different when they're backwards. Let's see if it lines up. It does. How good symmetrical stuff. Give that a cut. So there's going to be 3 patches. 1 big one, 2 little ones, 1. Okay, just going to repeat that for the other one, and then we can get into making the patches. Alrighty. So we have our patch backings. I'm going to try and not waste material. Try and nest these in together. So it's going to look something like that. Let's see if we can get enough material. Should be good. Oh, I should probably just put this down first. All right, that should be okay. Get that bit up there. Here where it gets tricky is there's this seam running down the middle. So I want to obviously avoid having that in any parts of the design that are quite detailed. So we don't want them to go through like any corners or anything like this. So here it's inset a bit. We also don't want it to be on like the pattern of where the pattern lays. That's quite detailed either. Okay, rad. That looks pretty good. Start to rough cut around there. Get rid of that seam, so it's just going to get in our way. I'm pretty excited, to be honest. Here's what it's going to look like. So best to have material on when we're sewing it together, to have the material on the base and the patch on the top. The patch is stiffer, so it's going to move better, but also visually we can see where it's going to go. So to do that, got this wrong way around. Do this way, like that. Nest that in as high as we can go. Great. I'm just going to use a couple of clips because I don't like pinning through banner material. It distorts where it sits too much. Really, it looks like freaking ET, or it's like somewhere between ET and, okay, Stitch. Oh, look at that, we've got orange. It's going to spin an orange bobbin because this is going to be visible in some capacity. You know what? We're going to be doing a bit of stitching. Let's just do a stitch a clock out on a straight stitch from the center. Try and lock this edge in first. We've got a little bit of wiggle room in terms of the material flexing around, but if we just lock this big straight in edge, then it should be good. Super, super close to the edge. Alrighty, so we are stitched together. Just a simple straight stitch, just a simple straight stitch. Doesn't have to be super clean. We just need to hold the 2 pieces together. Now we're going to come over and just cut the patch off. Snippy, snippy, snippy around the whole shape. And then we have a patch. Ta-da! Next, we're just gonna do a zigzag over that edge just to finish it off like a binding. So onto the zigzag, start off with like 1 mil stitch length, and let's start up here. Alrighty, bunch of patches. Not gonna lie, this took substantially longer than I expected. Alrighty, we've got ourselves bunch of patches. There's looks like a reindeer, orange peels. These are just going to top stitch straight over. It's already stitched the pink underneath here, so we're going to see a stitch one to the other side. Let's see how it turns out. So this is the inner bit. We've just sewn those 2 together. Same with this. Now the next section is to put all the trims on this, a label on this, and then assemble the 2 pieces together. So basically I'm just going to run a bias edge strip around this whole perimeter, just with a 25 mil width. Yeah, so we're going to need some black thread. So we're just going to do it piece by piece. Start with the top and bottom edge. That over bit by bit. Line it up in the center. Stitch a little bit. Refold it. Nice. So we got a clean edge here. And do the other side. So there's bag straps tacked on the side. And then our back piece here. We've got the receiving and our little tag. Now this is where we put those notches in earlier, which I've remarked because we want those to line up perfectly. So the top of that should sit there. That we want to be centered. Bring on the clips. Put a biggie on there. That's sitting pretty good. So what we're going to do now is just basically top stitch this whole thing together. We're getting into bag territory. Let's see if the old domestic can stitch through all this. This is getting pretty thick, so see how we go. We might have a bag. It's not coming through. Just give it a slight pull. Let's just do that again. Yes. Alrighty. So boom, boom, bag town. Gonna do the final assembly. Go right sides together. Ooh, we are together. We have a bag. It's got some holes in it still. And this is the moment of truth where that pattern that we were chatting about earlier is either working or not working. And it looks like it's going to work. So just squish those together. That's all lining up well, which is fantastic news. So I'm just going to stitch over that on the industrial. Good. Do that again. I would doubt this would go through on the domestic, that's for sure. We are in bag territory. Let's flip it out, push from one corner, get that out the right way from the start. Not an easy way to do this that I've found anyway. Come on, flip it. Yeah, missed it. Let's go back. I only have to put one corner out, fortunately. But yeah, it did stitch. Yep. Take 2. Real. How is it? Please be okay. Yeah, nice. Good looking corner. It's getting there. Could be worse. Now we're going to roll that down, pin that back as well. Put some bias tape on the top edge, which is by far the least enjoyable part of this bag assembly process, but it's also at the end. So light at the end of the in. Now we only have one more stitch. We're just going to stitch strap adjuster on here, and then I'm going to punch a hole in there, put the fixing in and the receiver on. Yeah. Welcome to Bagtown. As per usual, not sure how I feel about it yet, but we can talk about the function a bit more objectively. Laptop fits, great start. It's super protected in there. It's awesome. Got easy access pocket there. Happy days. Closes, and then wear test. Easy access. That's good. Feels nice on the back. Probably wear it with this. Yeah, overall, not bad for the first try of the pattern. And other thing, pattern coming around here, I think was a really good call. Probably my favorite part is even the base down here. I think that looks cool. I don't love this, didn't nail that connection, but I do like this composition. So individually they're good, they maybe just don't pair together super well. But yeah, dope. Gonna be making more of these, so let us know what you think. Yes.